Stuff says we're live. So welcome, Johnny Heller. And I'm trying something new this time where Jenn Lee is our guest tonight. She's fantastic. But before she comes on, I want to say hello. This is my cohort. He sometimes, occasionally, is funny. He can be nice as well. So Johnny Heller, what's the cool stuff happening with you? Good to see you again. How's New York
Thanks,
treating
Don.
you?
Great to be here. Thanks, everybody, for coming out to our show. Once again, let me say at the top, if you enjoy this, if you don't enjoy it, get out of here. But if you enjoy it, leave a comment. Comments really help get the word out about this. So comment that you like it. If you watch again on YouTube, comment there. Let your friends know. And I'm going to say this, 2025 is upon us. And Don and I would be happy to have you guys, any one of you, as a guest on our show. What's your story? We want to know. There's no entrance exam to get in here.
Clearly.
Look, we're on it all the time. So and it's open season. So join us. We're happy you've been here so far. We're coming to a close of a full year of doing these for free for you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. And I'm really excited about today's guest, as a matter of fact.
Can you tell us a little bit about? Let me bring her on here. So,
Yeah.
you will see the super fantastic.
Let's see if this works.
There
Hey,
we go. All
didn't work.
right. So glad
Now you
you're
got to
here.
build a musical fanfare.
Yeah.
That's it. There's the lovely and talented Jenn Lee, my friends. One of the seriously nicest people that I know. I know Bob Sauer is really nice, but Jenn Lee, you give him one for his money, I think.
No,
yeah.
not Bob. No, he's definitely the nicest.
I think what's his handle? He's going to be on our show in a couple weeks. The second nicest guy in the business or something. Which I always know it's a brilliant way to do it. Jen, Joanne, and I were talking before the show today about you. Usual, trashing you when you're
Yeah,
not
I
there.
know.
But did we meet was it a Florida workshop or was it a where did we meet, you and I?
No.
See,
Someone said, when I first started, someone said, oh, well, you got to do all the Johnny Heller stuff. That's the first thing you got to do. So then I took a Splendiferous that was maybe the first one that was online.
Oh, that was the 2020 thing. I'm not right. 2019. I remember.
Yeah, it was when we were all online for like really just starting, and so I did that, and then I think I joined the Facebook group and stuff like that, and then you were having a party, maybe a birthday party for yourself. I don't.
That's how he does
remember.
it.
Oh.
But anyway, it was at a bar, right?
And yeah, I do set up birthday parties, but it's not quite the way you say. I set up a get together so we can all hang out.
Sure.
I'm not doing
however
it
you want to spin it.
Yeah. Come bring me.
Anyway, or maybe it was because Simon Vance was in town. Anyway, there was some New York City thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you were like, everyone come. And I was like, oh God, I can't come to that. Why would I come to that? Oh my God, no. And so I went into the city. I live outside the city. And I went into the city. I got my courage up. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. Johnny said I should. So even though we'd never met, and I got off the train at Grand Central and walked around for 45 minutes because I was so freaked out, because I just was so nervous. I didn't feel like I had a place.
Oh my.
And I didn't know the community the way it is. Now I would be like, of course you should come. You know what I mean? But then I was like, oh God. And I see Hillary Huber. I'm like stalking the venue, right? But I'm not going up. I see Hillary, who I didn't know, but of course I knew. And I see Hillary walking. It was like seeing Meryl Streep walking, right? I was like, oh my God, it's Hillary Huber. It's a sign. And so she started walking in and I kind of followed her, not in a creepy way, but I was like, okay, I can do it. So I followed Hillary up and you were right at the door and you were like, Jenn, and that the rest is history. And then I learned that lesson that the community is really special and loving and really, really open. So that's when we met, not to correct you.
So why do you think it's different? Why is this community different than isn't theater people, aren't they the same? Or if you're out going for a on-camera thing, aren't they the same? Or if you're going for a beauty I don't know. Why are they
No,
different? What's different?
I don't have an answer for why. I don't a lot of people say it's because 'cause we're so alone all the time. That's not for me. I don't think that's necessarily why it is. I think there's a lot of, love that comes with this artistry, and we have to put a lot of love into it because it's so hard. And I think that we all know it's really hard. And so I think there's a special appreciation for the crazy people who do what we do. And I just think we connect in a lot of strange ways. And I think maybe we all know how hard it is. So I don't know. I mean, that's maybe not the
Yeah,
right reason, but
there,
I
there's a
mean,
lot of
there are a lot of actors, but I can tell you actors are great, but it's definitely not the same.
Okay.
But
Johnny, you have any
actors,
input on that?
I've never had the experience of support and mutual recognition and camaraderie, except maybe if you're doing a show. Like backstage, if you're all doing a show, there's that kind of family feel.
yeah.
But this is different, I think.
There any show there is within the cast, this is a team spirit, like any baseball team. It's got that, there's a support and love setup sort of, unless you're the equity monitor. And then, but if you're doing in the audiobook world, I mean, while the top 50 audiobook narrators or something may be looked at like, oh, they're every one of them are the same as you, and they're supportive and they care. Like when you see Meryl Streep as Hillary Huber there, when you see her, she'll talk. She's sweet. She's a
Oh,
regular person. She's a great human being.
she might be the nicest.
Well, I think I am, but
And then Bob Sauer, and
yeah,
then
then
me,
Bob
and then
Sauer.
yeah.
I'm probably down to the 85th or something, but
Oh, no, no.
Sean Pratt, who some people think is a fine fellow, is not a bad fellow at all. So there's all these people who the names you may recognize, but they're all so sweet and so good. I mean, look at the names pop up on our little chat board. I don't know if you can see it, but
I
they're all
can. Oh,
they all have different amounts of experience. They come from different places, but they all care about each other. Truly care. Yeah,
Sherry
sure.
just doesn't know
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, she doesn't know us at all. Yeah. But there is a support here, and I think it's important that everybody understands. uh, Unless you're a jerk person, or unless you try and take advantage, but by and large, this group is the most supportive, loving, caring, mentoring community I know of. Not within that group, because it is so large. Of course, there's going to be some issues. Of course, there's going to be people who you don't have to care for. Like I can name 6 right here. I don't like. No, I'm not. I can't. But the thing is, there's always gonna be people you like more than others.
Yeah.
But when Joanne and I met you, we thought you were the bee's knees, just charming and effervescent and immensely talented. And the fact that someone of your skill level, and I truly mean this, and your experience and your background would have that imposter syndrome kind of feeling that I don't belong here. It hits my soul. I'm thinking, geez, it's just if only you knew how bright the light that's in you really is, and I mean that. I'm not,
well, I do feel that now. And I mean, I am the same person in the booth who last week goes, I actually don't know if I know how to do this.
Yeah.
I've been pretending and I actually don't know how to narrate. And that's the end of it. And I think it's a humbling job because
Yeah.
you're constantly being faced with your own questions because you are doing it so singularly. But I also think that as narrators, you can be an amazing narrator and have done one book. You can be a maybe narrator who needs improvement and have done 200 books. And I don't think you know that until you get into the community and you realize that we're all on a certain level, which is how do I bring this piece of good, bad, amazing, crappy writing, how do I love it? Like I love a scene partner who I might not love, or
Yeah,
a
yeah.
play where I'm like, if I only do this play ever in my life is done. And we're constantly meeting those thoughts by ourselves. So when we're together, I think we understand all that about each other.
Well, You have an interesting background because not many started off in the Amish community with no television, no access to anything related to what we do. And
Mm.
then somehow somebody in your family seemed to barely have a tangential acting background. Is that correct?
Yes,
Just
I come from Amish hippie actors.
that's
Okay. Tell us about your dad. Just, I mean, for perspective, though, you
No,
come
my
into this
dad
different.
is a very well respected, semi-famous in the New York musical theater
New
world.
York only? No, no, no.
Well, in the
like
Broadway
Broadway.
world,
Okay.
if you're a Broadway fan, then you very possibly will know who my dad is because he's done a lot of Sondheim stuff and he was in Phantom and he is Guinness Book World Record holder for performances on Broadway.
Okay, so how old were you when you first realized, hey, my dad's doing something different than my friends' parents who are working at the Ford plant?
Oh, I mean, I lived it, so I didn't have a lot of friends. I moved around a lot because my parents were doing shows in different places, so was a very kind of singular kid for a while. And really what I knew was being at the theater with my parents or being in that theater family. So,
How old would you be when you remember going to shows? How old do you remember? It's just
no.
you don't remember not doing it. Is that kind of how it goes?
No, yeah, because that was just our life. I mean, that was our life.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I don't remember not doing it. I mean, I would be a back it was just a crazy childhood. My parents were just so lovely and so talented, and so it was just a childhood of watching them on stage, watching other people on stage, music, um, and just that real kind of '70s vibe. I mean, that changed when I got
Mm,
older because we moved, but I always almost always was in New York City for my
mm.
summer breaks with my dad. So, sometimes that meant going to the standing in the unemployment line. I mean, I remember that vividly, standing in the unemployment line with my dad, or hanging out at a Broadway backstage at a Broadway show every night, which is
Did
that
you
would
guys
never
hang
happen
around
now, but yeah.
did you hang around the old Equity Lounge back in the the '80s and '90s when it was
Well,
when
when I
there's a
came
little
to New York then I came to New York because
yeah,
there wasn't any money for me to go to college, and I didn't have parents who had gone to college. They had self-made themselves into performers immediately, and I wanted to go to college, but I didn't get anywhere because I didn't know how to get in, and I didn't know how to pay for it, so I came right to New York, and that was during that heyday of the Equity Lounge.
yeah.
So you're like, "Oh, I gotta kill an hour in Midtown. I guess I'll go hang out at the Equity
Well, the
Lounge."
beauty of an Equity, card in those days was you could use the bathroom in Times Square,
Yeah.
and they used to remember they used to paper the houses all the time.
Mhm.
You'd go there, there'd be a little notice, "Hey, we need people to show up to, the Fantastics or something." There you'd go, see a show.
Yeah. Well, that was my
That's
first show in New
yeah.
York was the Fantastics.
Oh, really? So,
What do you
tell us
mean you're
about
what wait, you were in it or you went and watched it?
No, no. I was in it. I came to New York
What
and uh,
she's fantastic. She was Mrs. Fantastic.
got hired to do the girl, which is the only girl in the show,
Yeah.
Louisa, and I was 18, and I was the youngest girl ever to
wow.
do that down at
Now, did you
the
work with,
old Sullivan Street Theater.
the what the name of the theater after him now? Oh, he passed away, the guy from Law& and Order,
Oh, no, no. That show had already been going on for a long,
yeah,
long
it's been going
time.
on, I think, since the beginning of civilization. I think the
Yeah,
first thing
my
was Adrian
dad was in it, my stepmother was in it. I
yeah,
mean, but
it
I was
started
a
around the time of the Gutenberg Bible. I think it's been on for a long time.
yeah.
So tell us
And
about so was that your first show on Broadway?
it was
That's
off
off
down at
Broadway,
the
yeah,
old Sullivan Street, but, I was a kid.
yeah.
So, my friends were at college, and I was spending my college time going to do my show at in the Village, in the '80s. I mean, it
Yeah,
was just
that's very cool.
in the late '80s and '90s. I mean, New York and theater was just so New Yorky and theatery, you know?
That those
It's
days
so
of the Village
different
Voice.
now. But
That's very
do you remember that paper. I don't know if Equity put it out, but it was like a paper. I think it had jobs in it. Like they would put job things on the board.
There's a job board and an apartment board.
But there's also like some kind of paper thing that would come out
I
too.
can't remember that. I remember apartment share boards and job boards, and you found jobs like survival jobs in the Village Voice.
Yep.
And you found all kinds of gigs. I mean, that was crazy. That was wonderful times. I mean, probably some of the most difficult, challenging times financially and emotionally and everything, but certainly incredible fun. You know, that's the theater days that they see in movies all the time. Hold on, my dog wants in.
Oh, James Romick. That's who it was. James Romick said, "You have to meet Johnny." Thank you, James, for popping up.
Is that what he said?
It was James. It was Jimmy.
Yeah.
Who I knew from he did Phantom with my dad. So that's Jimmy, when I first started, was very helpful to me understanding what steps I needed to continue to take to become a narrator. Circling back.
So tell it before we. I'm gonna go on the narrators. I want to hear some more Broadway. So after the Fantastics, what's next in the Jenn Henry story?
I was young and I could sing. I was blessed with a voice. I could belt and sing pretty high soprano. So I just worked. I worked because I was young. I looked like the age that the ingenue was supposed to be, you know?
Right.
I hadn't gone to college and was still looked young. I was young. I was a kid. I was an absolute fucking kid. As a matter of fact, I was on tour with Mickey Rooney in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. It was an absolute shit show. Can I say that on YouTube?
Yes, you can.
It was an absolute debacle. It was
because of Mickey, right?
Yes, it was insane. I was 20. So we would go to these towns and there would be the opening night party in the town. Now, this was back when you would be on a national tour and you would sit somewhere for at least 2 weeks, if not a month. So there would be a big party and everything. I could never go to any of those parties. we went to LA and sat at the Amundsen, I guess. And there was a huge party at the Magic Castle. People were so freaked out and so excited to be invited to the Magic Castle. And my cast was like, "It's okay. You're with us. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen." And the Magic Castle people were like, "Nope, she's underage. She's not going."
Right.
It was nuts.
Wow.
It was nuts how young I was. And I don't know, P.S., where all that national tour money went. So I just worked on Broadway and tours and off Broadway and regional theaters, basically until I had my kids. I had my first, actually, that's not true. I had one waitressing job. This is awesome. I turned 30 and I was up for a Broadway show and I'd gotten to the very end, to the point where they were rehearsing us in numbers to match us with the leads, because I was going to double cover. I did a lot of double covering, and they wanted us. It was sideshows, so you had to really be able to do Emily Skinner and Alice Ripley, and you needed to be able to be their twin attached to them. So we learned numbers for like a week. It was crazy, and I didn't get that job. And I had to take a waitressing job for the first time in my life on my 30th birthday.
Oh, goodness.
And I think during that week of my first week, the entire team of Sideshow came in for lunch and I had to wait on them.
Oh, fuck. Oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, that would not be it'd be kind of a humbling experience, I would guess.
It was, because I had been really lucky. So I didn't have to do any of those jobs until then. And it just felt like a big fat fucking slap.
To say so, here's an important takeaway, and I hope everybody gets this. Jenn has been successful and is successful. And you look at her resume, gosh, I would love to have her career. And sometimes people look at what I'm doing. I want Johnny Heller's career. But you don't understand what it costs to get there. All of us, who are, overnight sensations, spent 30 years to become an overnight sensation. And the things we did, some of the things we did back in the day, we aren't even available anymore. It's a different world, but it's still all these hardships. And some of the younger, newer narrators coming into the business from their background, everybody has their own path.
Right.
And it's important to respect the path they came on, understand the choices they made. And the fact that Joanne and I think last summer, I think it was, not this, maybe a year or so ago, we're eating at an outdoor place and we recognized the waitress as a young lady, a fine actress we'd seen in a television series we had just binged. And I guess the show didn't get picked up apparently because now she's waiting on us. And we knew she was, and we both wanted to say, gosh, we're so wonderful. But then we thought, do you say that? Because now we should be embarrassed because here she is. We're watching her on TV thinking, oh, man, I'd love to do what she's doing. And I remember when I was on this will age me. I did a Murphy Brown episode when I lived in L.A. I was on Murphy Brown. So I remember I had this crappy, beat up junker car that I needed to get. I had more bartending jobs than anything else. So I get a week on at the Warner Brothers there. So you go there, you get your car, you drive this jalopy, and these women come out. They're called the Pink Ladies. They've got jackets and everything. It's like a bowling league girls. They take your car, put it away, and drive you in a nice thing to your trailer with your name on it. And for a week, you're king of the world. And then the show, then that series, that thing wraps, and then they bring your jalopy to you.
Yeah.
And you go back to your shitty life. Now you're done being a guest star. That kind of stuff is so weird. The ups and downs of our business are unlike any other. That's why it's so tricky.
I was telling people like, oh, you Les Mis and oh, this and that. I worked my butt off to get into Les Mis. I really did. I auditioned for Phantom that Jimmy was in. I must have auditioned for Phantom 15 times. And I auditioned for Les Mis probably for 2 years before I got in it. And I did crazy stuff. I was just telling someone last night about a tour, an international tour of Annie Get Your Gun that I did. I played Annie. And I was equity, and I think like maybe 4 of the leads were equity, but the rest of the kids were not equity. And it was Europe. There was no jurisdiction. There was nothing in place in Europe to, protect us. And equity came to us after our final run in the States, and they said, please don't go. Do not go. It is going to be horrible. And we were all like, well, we're going. We just finished our final run through. Of course we're going. We thought we were going to make a lot of money. We thought it was going to be amazing. It was insanely bad. It was insanely bad. And we were on buses for 5 and 8 hours a day. And they would put us in a hotel that was 2 hours away from the theater. So we would drive all day, get to the hotel, not be able to eat anything because it's Europe. Everything's closed until dinner time. And then we would get back on the bus and go to the theater. I mean, it was insanity. We would stuff our pockets with breakfast meats because we wanted to make sure that we had something to eat. I mean, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
But there were plenty of crap shows. And there were plenty of not great experiences too. And yet, what's more lovely than being in a show? I'm sorry, but
nothing comes to mind.
No,
it's an experience unlike any other.
But you know what? I get offered things every once in a while just around here because I don't pursue it at all. And I just want to be in the booth because I'm so much better of an actress than I was as a stage performer. And I'm asked to do so much more than I was ever asked to do on stage. And that is really big. That's really big. I get to play the prince and the unicorn and the mafia guy and the maid and the heiress in one afternoon.
I feel like we're all Nick Bottom getting his wish, playing everybody in the show, And I just think, when we were little kids, you said, I'll be this. And every time, or even we're a little kid and you're the outgoing one in class and it's time to do the Christmas play and you want to play everybody, and if there's a nervous kid, I'll take his role. I'll give you that. And now in audiobooks, as you say, you are everybody. It's kind of it's a challenge and a real special joy, a treat.
It's very strange. I haven't done too many, but the few multicasts where I just played one part is
Yeah.
very odd. Just very strange to play one part.
Yeah, it's, I just got I will say this about multicast, when you get to play, um, a role or two, depending on the cast, first off, it's quick and it's easy, and it's almost it's not guaranteed, but it's a super easy way to head into the award season. If you really want a Sonos or an Audi or any other or earphones or whatever, you know, being 3 lines as a reporter in some group thing. Like, I think at Charlotte's Web, I had like 2 pages of literally maybe 10. It took me 15 minutes to do it all on a direction, and that thing was up for a Grammy. So it's,
Mhm.
you know, it's just that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I realize, but here's where it comes to in the multicast, the actor has to. There really are no small actors. You've got to play that role. You get to play that role, and you should play it to fully. However, the difference is when you're doing the whole book, if you're doing all of Charlotte's Web, that's much more of a challenge and much more exciting for the actor
Mhm.
to bring
Mhm.
all those things, and I certainly understand that. When did you start in audiobooks? Do you remember your first
I
book?
I started right I guess that was like 2020. I was a TV casting director for like 12 years. That's a whole nother story. But I was a TV casting director, and some friends of mine up here did a lot of the American Experience, PBS, what are they called? Oh, documentaries. And I would
Right, right.
do I did some voiceover. I did like 4 of those. I did voiceover work on 4 of those documentaries, which is dreamy work, PS,
Is that
and I
before
loved it.
audiobooks or
Huh?
after is that before or after audiobooks
No,
started?
this I'm telling you how I got into VO in general.
Okay.
Ah,
Then I decided that I maybe didn't wanna be doing what I was doing, and most of you know I have cancer, so I just felt like my whole life kinda went a friend of mine said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I need this job. I need this TV job, my da, da, da." And he's like, "Will you please just go do what you wanna do?" So that's when I went and trained with a VO coach, a huge, bunch of master classes, and then I decided that I wanted to do audiobooks. That's really, really what I wanted to do. So that's just what I did.
all right, here's a question from Keith Brown. And Keith Brown, I sent you a message on Facebook, by the way, so answer me, you bastard. Okay, here we go.
So Jen, you've been
Jen, you've
directed
been
on
directed on
Go ahead, Dan.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Johnny.
No, you go ahead, Don.
Jen, you've been directed on stage so much. What was it like transitioning to self-directing in audiobooks? Because
I don't know. I don't think I've learned how to do that yet. Don't tell Paul.
I get occasional messages from Jen.
I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know."
yeah, but okay, I'm gonna
I think I have good instincts. I think I have very strong instincts about what something needs to be and about how quickly what is the point of this thing that I'm reading? Why is this here in this book? Why are these people saying this? So I think my instincts in terms of that are strong. I can make quick, fast decisions that I feel are right. Um, Performing them properly is, different. But I'm also director, so I've done a lot of directing too. Um, but I find it really difficult to this day. Like I said, I'm still in the booth yesterday going, I don't know. I think it most of you know that I'm overthink, so I think sometimes I tend to go back and try and make it perfect too much. Don't tell Johnny. Um, so
I
I'm still learning is my answer, and I think that's the self-direction part is really hard. I really just want someone to tell me what to do because if you tell me what to do, I guarantee you I can do it. I guarantee you I can do it. But telling yourself what to do gets, I think it can get confusing.
That's so honest of you, and I thank you for it. There's a lot of people who, we're all in the same, but we're all learning all the time, and it's important to continue your training constantly. Jenn has more theater experience than I've ever had, and we're both learning all the time, and we're both growing all the time, and you have to admit things that you're even if you think you've got it all down, there are still ways you can be better. Every time I work with a different student, I learn more. I learn because the choices they made are interesting to me. So I would not have thought of such a thing. They thought of it and it comes. So there's always something new. And the fact that Jenn freely says, "Hey, I need to work on this," and there's things. I promise you, Jenn knows more than she says she knows,
Yeah.
and is far more talented than she realizes. And the self-direction issues she has, once we discuss them, really don't exist anymore. But it happens all the time because that's something inside of you and inside of all of us that questions even the best actor, whoever that is in this group, is not gonna believe they're the best actor in this group.
Yeah.
I think James Romick is a brilliant actor, just tremendous. I think he knows he's a brilliant actor, but I think he knows there's stuff he has to do. I think Jen Lee is incredibly talented. I think Tim Lonibus is incredibly talented. They're still growing and learning. There's always things one can do to improve the performance, and that's why AI is not as much of a challenge as many of us think, because that can be perfected technically. It's not organic and it's not human. And I think that we need to continue upping our game constantly. That's always what I preach, and Jen Lee is a perfect I like saying both your names, by the way, is a perfect example of the kind of person we all need to be and need to understand. This is one of the most talented people I know, um, and here she is, has some questions about it.
So,
And
There are some questions.
well,
Okay,
and I
let's
want
see.
to, I want to talk.
I will say I am also, you know, I'm also the person that's like, well, gosh, I didn't get those 2 auditions I did last week, and I can't I'm thankful for having a lot of ongoing serieses, but I don't know when my next job's gonna come. I know what my books are that I have lined up, but I'm also looking at my email going, "Oh, nothing today." Nothing today. I'm very often standing in a camp, people like, "Oh, I just have to go do those 3 auditions." I'm like, "3 auditions? How the F is someone having 3 auditions in 1 day?"
Yeah.
That's not my audiobook life. I'm proud of my work and I'm proud of what I've done, but my work is not like that at all.
So I'd like to drill down on this. So Keith said, I love that Jen has strong instincts and trusting them. It's so essential for this, I feel. But here's one thing that I think is a little bit important. You have, quote, strong instincts because you have a mental map of so many things from being around this stuff for decades. If I'm brand new to this, most people, many of us are not going to have the kind of, quote, you're calling it instincts. I would say you have had massive amounts of exposure, both where you're studying and working on improving your craft, and where you're standing backstage and watching and being around great actors doing things. And you absorb, oh, that's fascinating. You have insights from seeing so many thousands of shows and then participating in thousands of shows. That's different than somebody that's been around this thing for a year or two. Their instincts are not going to be at the levels you are, and then they need to supplement that, but you do it too. Of all the people here, who shows up? When's the last time you and I saw each other? Do you remember?
Mm, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Why? Because you, with all your experience, thought that you needed to go hang out with a bunch of other coaches who may have been your peers in terms of actual experience or talent, maybe, but you wanted to have exposure to a set of people. And this is fascinating. After decades of doing the acting, after doing as much as you have, after studying with Johnny, you still went back to the New England Narrators Retreat because you know that there are things you don't know, which is fantastic. Everyone needs to have that. But you also wanted to get the perspective from all these other people that were at that. why, after all this time, do you need to go and be around all these other people? It makes no sense to me. It's a total waste of your time.
Well, I'm a very slow learner.
Yeah.
I'm a fast directorial student. Like, if you direct me, I got it. But if I have to learn it myself and then remember it, like, I think Johnny's told me, I don't know, 10 different occasions during coachings or whatever. Where are you? Why have you taken Jen out of this equation? Like, you're not allowing yourself to come to the table. And B, you're thinking about it too much. You're making too much of it. You know what I mean? You're overworking it. Like, you overwork, bread. It just makes it tough. And there's flow and there's ease and there's belief and then that's a lot of stuff that I got to work on every day. Every day. I don't just go and learn it once because then I forget it.
Before, yeah, you have to continue well, I don't want to use the word indoctrinating. We have to continue. Yeah, I guess I do, indoctrinating yourself with the idea that, yeah, just keep telling yourself, I can do it. I can do it. Because the only way you can't do a thing is if you tell yourself you can't. Most things are possible. Barbara Hensley wrote something. I don't want to lose it before we get out of comments. Which audiobook project are you most proud of? And that may be a hard question to answer, but up to this day, this time, is there one or two or three?
Well, I got to do Sun House, which was a multicast. So I just played one part in it. It was very I don't know why they found me or how they found me, but I played like a Bonnie Raitt, like Joni Mitchell kind of rock starry lady.
Mhm.
And the book is, I think, 48 hours long.
Wow.
So you really have to search to get to my parts in there. But I did an hour of audio, but that was by James Duncan, David James Duncan, who I had read his books. So to be asked to do that was my dream when I became a narrator, to be asked to do a book by a writer that I actually was in love with. I mean, it was I couldn't believe that I got to do it, to be involved in his book. And that book, it's a lot and it's amazing. And it's an amazing book. And all the 12 people who listened to all 48 hours, thank you. I really thought it was going to be the book of the year. Of course it wasn't, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of my fantasy series that I am doing. I'm working on one right now. I'm actually going to finish it tomorrow, but because I never thought I would do that. I had a really strong idea of what kind of books I was going to do.
Yeah.
That was wrong.
Throw that out the window. Yeah.
That was wrong. And the joy that I found doing genres that I didn't expect to like, which are not genres that I read ever, fantasy and sci-fi, are some of my favorite genres to narrate. I mean, horror is my favorite genre to narrate.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, by far. If I just narrated nothing but horror, that would be I'd be fine.
You and I have discussed this. See, I can't. I've done a couple of horror books, and I can do the books.
Oh,
but I can't watch the movies or anything.
I can't really watch the stuff. I can't. That's too visual for me. But narrating the books, I find them filled with love and passion, and I love them.
That's fascinating.
I love them. Can you remember one that you really enjoyed? What you like, the kind of one of your favorite of the horror ones that you've done?
Well, I did a lot of anthologies last year, which was pretty amazing. But 2, I did all the stories in the anthologies, and then 3 or 4 others, I just did one story in a multicast. But White Trash, I can't talk. I'm sorry, I was out so late. White Trash and Recycled Nightmares is an anthology that I did, and it is such a beautiful book, and I'm so proud of that book. And I've become quite close with the author. She's now a very good friend of mine, and I think that is what a perk when you get to be friends with authors. It's just amazing. I love it so much. And my first horror book was kind of a folk horror book. called The Beasts of Visaria County, and I didn't know what a gift that book was gonna be, by Doug Ford, because I didn't know that I loved to narrate horror, and it was such a beautiful book, and I loved it so much, and he said to me after it was done, first of all, when I was recording it, I got it on ACX,
Mhm. Nothing wrong with
and
ACX.
when I was recording it, I was asking him questions, and he said to me, "Hey, this is your book now. You gotta do whatever you think is right. It's your piece of art to work with now." And
Wow, that's the author you want. That's
how
nice.
often does that happen? I didn't know
Never.
it at the time, but that was cool, wild.
Did you ever
And
work with, Joe Hempel in his, Fright Night stuff?
yeah,
It's all
yeah,
yeah.
I did one of the anthologies that he did
Yeah,
last.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love Joe
Um,
Hempel.
and so, that was an amazing book, and he said, "Now I think of," when an author says, "Oh, now I think I hear your voice when I'm writing," or I'm thinking of those characters. I mean,
Before we get deeper into this, but I know we are gonna I wanna make sure we point out a night in the life of Jenn Lee. You were so last night was the opening of, Louis Armstrong.
yeah.
So tell us why you were there and how that went.
Okay, well, my husband is also an actor, director, theater person, but he's a IATSE stage guy now. So he works on a lot of different shows, but he has his own light, which means he run on at every show, he runs the one of the spots, and that's his light. So it was the opening night of A Wonderful World last night. So we had a big Broadway opening, which is there's nothing like a Broadway opening. It's so fun. But we were out really late, really late. I go
How
to
was the
bed at like,
show?
huh?
How was the show?
Oh, the show
Can
is beautiful. I mean, the singing and dancing, it's so great. It's a really entertaining show. The reviews are not great, and it's not
Oh, really?
a
I didn't
yeah.
read anything yet. It came out today.
Well, it's hard to tell someone's entire life story, and they're really trying to do that. But the guy who plays Louis Armstrong is wow. And it's worth it to see the singing and the dancing. It really is a worthwhile show. So I hope it stays open. Um, but it was really, really fun. Very exciting.
What theater is it at?
I don't
Ooh,
oh,
I'll look
Studio
it up, never mind.
54. Studio 54.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a cool space.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
They're gonna redo the
I've seen a couple
whole
places.
inside of it now, so get your tickets
Yeah,
so you can see it because
I
it's a
saw Tracy
gorgeous
Letts show
old
there, yeah.
it's such an old,
Okay,
old
now we
space.
return to questions. Here's Tim Lunibus.
Yeah, Jen, how do you balance
Don?
parenting, cancer management, and the long hours needed in the booth?
Tim. You know me. I don't I don't balance anything. Um, First of all, my kids are adults, so really I talk to them on they live in Brooklyn and together. And so I mostly just talk to them on the phone every night when I'm making dinner. I'm not a great balancer. I'm really need a lot of learning with the balance part of narration because my brain is always get in the booth, get in the booth, get in the booth, get in the booth. And I haven't learned how to give myself days off or uh, give myself prep days or give myself admin days. So I'm always trying to jerry rig those things into the fact that I'm just in the booth because I'm not a particularly fast narrator. And the more I do it, the less fast I get, which is strange. Um, and cancer management is just what it is. I've got like the middle of the day. So any time between 12:30 and 3:30, I'm usually asleep because my body just says, "Nope, that's it." Um, which is hard because I feel like I've got like 4 less hours in a day to do things. I can't just go have lunch and then go back in the booth. Like I have to do this whole rest thing every day. So sometimes if you see me at retreats or things like that, I just kind of disappear because I have to just go lay down. And it's not because I'm sick per se. It's just because I have to shut down. And other than that, I get a shot. once a month in New York
Yeah.
City. It's a lifelong cancer that is manageable. So I'm not going anywhere. Nobody has to be
Okay.
freaked out.
I will say 2 things. One, we haven't had our lunch or breakfast in a long time when you come in.
I
So
know.
let's do that again. And 2, I was wondering what happened because this New England, the most recent New England retreat, Joanna and I both saw, we saw very little of you.
I
And
know.
that's why. I know it was weird.
No, I don't
Well,
think that
I
was
know.
why. I just think we weren't in the same spaces.
Yeah, no, I think you probably were you karaokeing the whole time or something?
No. I was trying to be at the fire pit, but the fire pit was like sad little fire pit this year.
Why?
Because everybody was doing karaoke.
No, I was at both. I was. I mean,
Yeah, you
I was
were.
at
But
the.
then eventually we would all just go up and watch the karaoke people.
And also, it was a little
Oh, I
colder
think the
this
fire
year.
pit was.
Just happened to be on the chillier side this year than most
I
years.
I will say that I've in past years I have stayed up until like 1:30 or 2, and this year
Oh man.
I was like, "You know what? It's okay if I go to bed. I think it's okay. I
Yeah.
know what
Yes.
everybody's
Well,
doing. I know what everyone's doing, and I can go
we've got
sleep."
to. If you have any ideas for the next year's the 10th anniversary, if you have any fun ideas, let me know because I want to do something.
Yeah, I
I don't know
think we
what
need
it'll
more
be.
marshmallows. That was a hit. Thank you very much. I
What?
still have
Oh,
sticks.
I don't eat s'mores.
Yeah, people love that. I know
S'mores are
you didn't.
disgusting. I'm
I
not
know
gonna.
you didn't, but
That's
people loved it,
it's
and
gross.
I bought the
They're
stuff
just
for
gross.
it, so
Marshmallows in general are disgusting.
not when they're on fire.
Yeah. Well, most things on fire are lovely, like heretics. You know.
Are you
Now we've
also
lost our
pursuing
train of thought.
VO jobs these days?
Say what?
Are you also pursuing voiceover jobs these days?
I mean, I have 2 agencies that send me out, so I do regular auditions. I don't book them,
Me too.
but for some reason, they keep sending me out, so I'm like, "Alright." I have a couple of clients that I'm like the voice of, so I do those, but those are like online-y kind of things. They're not like commercials. They're for in-house stuff. So that's nice. That's a little bump every, 4 months or so. But no, I just do audiobooks. I don't really care about anything else.
Aw.
Well,
I mean, I do, but
just
I
doing audiobooks, just doing all the characters. Yeah, I can
yeah,
see you should look
yeah,
down on that. Yeah.
yeah. No, if I have any extra time, I'm spending it trying to get audiobook jobs
So where do you
or
look? Where does someone
obsessing
like
about
you
my
look?
yard.
Where does
What?
someone like you, quote, look for audiobook jobs?
Uh, well, I do all my reach outs to all the publishers, and I try and keep notes about what publishers how they like to be reached out to, and if they thought my email was funny, or if they just like a sentence that says, "Hey, I need a job in February." Um, so,
Does that
and then
work?
I look for I look for indie authors, and then I do those reach outs too, trying to get indie author books, which is a lot of research. That is a F ton of research getting indie author books. So people who do that regularly deserve a medal. But I will say this year, 2 authors that I reached out to 4 years ago all of a sudden popped up and said, "I'm ready to do audiobooks now." So never say never. When they say not
Yeah.
right now, they actually might mean not right now. And those were 2 of the best books I did. So
And also you mentioned how many times not only did you wait 2 years for those authors to be ready for you, but you also auditioned a gazillion times for the shows. James mentioned he auditioned a couple of years to get in his shows. You know, we come from it's not just generational. It's who we are that it's hotwired in our DNA to want something and want it now. And the idea that sometimes this is a long game, the long game you got to play. You need to work along the way, but some of the things you put out there may not take root and grow right away. But later on, after you reach out to these authors 2 years later, there they are. That's a great lesson for everybody because, you don't there's no way to know. And I've sent out reach out letters to people that don't hear a thing. And all of a sudden, 1 or 2 years, hey, you asked me, are you still interested in work with me? Things can happen. You don't know. You don't know what happens to your efforts on the receiving end of them. All you know is what you did. I contacted Don Baarns. He didn't call me back. I hate that guy. Then later on, you find out he was doing, saving people from pickleball accidents or something, and something heroic like that. So he didn't have time to get back to you. You can't know, and you can't make assumption about what the other person is doing on their end. And I think
No,
that's
and
important to keep in mind.
I do think that Anna Clements really drove this idea into my head for a while in a nice way because she's nice. About moving the goalpost, you know? I mean, when I started 4 years ago, if I thought that I was gonna be on almost every roster, and I'm not saying that to be, "Ooh, yay me," because being on a roster a lot of times doesn't really mean much, but it feels like something. And 4 years ago, if I was on one roster, that was a huge deal to me, and then I immediately moved the goalpost. All right, now it's not enough. So now I work with a lot of different people, and it's amazing, and I'm still overly focused on those big 5s that I don't work with,
Oh, yeah.
or you know what I mean? And that becomes the focus. Why am I not working for Harper? Why am I not working for PRH? And behind me is all the lovely people I've worked with and
Yeah, yeah.
continue to work with, but I'm moving the goalpost, and it's a way of keeping ourselves down and not remembering what your dream was and what you wanted, you know? And I wanted to do really good books, and I wanted to leave my voice for that time when I'm not around.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do good quality books, and I'm doing that sometimes. Sometimes I'm just doing books that somebody loves.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, not every
It
book.
might not be me, but someone loves them. But I just think that moving the goalpost thing is really
Yeah.
can really bring you down in a
It
bad way.
yeah,
And
and it kind of
remembering, how am I doing that? How am I moving the goalposts so that I feel like nothing?
Well, okay, but all performers have that. I mean, this has been going on since the beginning, but and so I have a drum instructor. I talk about him all the time, Gene Stewart, who's passed, but he was constantly beating me up with this concept that he called the dual perspective. I don't know where he came up with that, but he was like, you can be proud of the stuff that you have accomplished where you started off not being able to do it, and then later you could do it because you invested 2 months, 2 years, whatever, to attain a skill and become good at something. And then as a performer, you'll never arrive at what your potential is at. And you have to figure out how to balance those two of patting yourself on the back for what you've accomplished and yet keep the perspective that there's a ton more to learn. And someone like you who's done so much can see so much further down the road than many of us because of where you've been. So you know that there's a bunch of things that you could do, you want to do. So it's okay to have that to have the goalpost continue to move as long as you also go, yeah, I've done some cool things. That's great. I'm proud of those. And you have both of those happening simultaneously. I hope that that never ends as a performer.
I do want to say something though, which is that when I started as an audiobook narrator to this day, I don't think people cared that I did any Broadway shows or anything. I don't think no one has ever said that they cared about that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I had to start from scratch, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
That got me nowhere. It got
Well,
me
yes and
skill.
no.
It got me skill, but it didn't get me audiobooks.
Correct, but it also gave you some perspective that other people who don't have an acting background wouldn't have. So it does play into why you're as strong and continue to get stronger because of your background and the foundational stuff that you had that a lot of people don't have. And if they had it, they would do even better. You have a
I
great
agree.
foundation.
I think it gave me a lot that helped me prove myself. but it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm a Broadway performer, so they're just gonna throw books at me." No.
Well,
No way. I had to spend 2, almost 3 years on ACX.
yeah.
I will say, had you gotten into recorded books, audiobooks earlier, when you were still doing your Broadway career, recorded books would have given you a lot of books. Like the small company, not the RB Media giant thing that it is now, but it was a small family thing when Claudia Howard ran it.
Mhm.
They actively used tons of Broadway people.
Yeah.
That was part of their sales pitch almost. So you would have gotten in this thing and been a rock star sooner than you are, which you are now, in my opinion,
Well,
in my humble opinion.
I did wanna do audiobooks way back when my kids were younger. It did cross my mind, and I put out a couple feelers, and it didn't really go anywhere, and at that point, I think I needed more help figuring it out, so I just
Yeah.
kinda let it go, and I really wish I hadn't just let it go, but
Do you
I
remember
also
when
have
your
little
first audiobook
kids and da 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 da. What?
Do you remember when your first audiobook was? What year? Are you out again?
My first audiobook that I eventually did?
Yeah.
I think it was 2020.
Oh, wow. I thought you were at it sooner.
No.
Oh my
No, no.
goodness. Well,
Yeah, and Keith
Uh,
my
Brown
dog
said
keeps
he
coming in
spent
and out of the booth.
basically 3 years sending something, and then he ended up at Carnegie Hall as a soloist. Okay, but it took 3 years, and that's kind of that happens for all those performers. And Tim here is talking about it validates you in terms of script analysis and character, and so absolutely. They may not have hired you because you were on Broadway, but there would definitely be some details where they go, I don't know where she got it, but boy, she's just nailing this and that and things that come
yeah.
out of your existing experience.
I just don't want people to think that I got some great leg up because of that.
But
Because I
okay, I respectfully think that you did, even though it may have come out differently. They didn't go, oh, we want her because she was on Broadway. What it came down to was we want her because she's really good at this, and that comes out of your prior experience, and other people have to find other ways to get that prior experience, and we all have to find that. So it
yeah.
gave you tools, it gave you some insights, it gave you, and then Johnny comes in and can say, 6 words, and you go, oh, I get it. I just hadn't thought of it that way because of your background, where someone else would take him 60 minutes or 600,000 words to say the same thing because they don't have the same background.
Yeah.
And also
I think
learning how to be in front of a mic as a stage performer is an absolute ridiculous, uh, thing. I mean, I remember that VO, coach, the first coaching I had with her, she's like, "Okay, read this," and I was like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," and she's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." I'm an exuberant person. I have to continually learn how
Yeah.
to bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it. Um,
Mm.
and I remember Joel saying that to me too with one of my first coachings with him. He's like, "Okay, you're playing to the mezz, which I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate. However."
So listen, we're running low on time, but what project have you got coming up? Anything you wanna hawk or promote for us?
Well, I have a new horror with a new publisher that's gonna come out in February, which is Macmillan, which is huge for me. So, and it's
Great.
horror in my chosen genre.
Was that Esther? Was that from Esther?
No, mm-mm. No, not from Esther. This is before I
Okay.
met Esther.
Okay.
And I don't know. I have a bunch of series is coming on, and I'm starting one of those series is with one of those indie authors, which looks really, really fun. So I don't have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff that's not being. I have a horror thing from Audible Studios where I read the Sarah Pekkanen story, which is she's a huge author, and we recorded it like 6 months ago, and it's not gonna come out until the new year.
Yeah, I never understand that.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So that's like a big Audible Studios thing that's gonna come out someday. I don't know.
Great. Well, you're as you know, I love you, so you're a dream to have, and you're the bee's knees to see you. Don, what have you got, to hawk for us to
No, I
promo?
think be sure to go to vojumpstart.com and check out. We've got a bundle pack that has Johnny's Johnny's webinar that we did a couple months ago, that's fantastic, and it's bundled together with some other stuff, so go check that out when you get a chance. Who do we have for next week?
I'll tell you right now, I'll give you the
is it
Travis Baldry is next week.
Ooh.
Travis Baldry. Then the 26th of November, the second nicest man in the business, Bob Sauer.
Oh, see,
And
now I
before the
missed
end of
the
the year,
whole
we'll have
chat. I
huh?
feel sad that I missed the whole chat. Will I be able to see it
Oh
if I
yeah,
go
yeah,
watch it?
it's all part of the stream
What,
that you can
the
see it.
chat we just did with you?
No,
No, the side chat. I
yeah,
wanna know what people are saying.
Oh, they've said horrible things about you.
yeah,
I know,
rightly
Tim
so.
in particular.
Yeah,
Tim's
yeah.
like,
Keith
"I've met her, I've
yeah.
had coffee with her, she's not that great."
Yeah, James Romick said that just what a despicable creature Jen Lee really is. He said that. And everybody else pretty much raised their hand in agreement. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy said, "I've known her for longer than all of you, and I know it's not okay."
Anyway, so here's what I've got coming up real quick is I think Paul Rubin and I may be doing something that just by the end of the year or the beginning of early January in New York City, a workshop. So we're looking at that. Sean Pratt, who I've got to talk to today, and I will do some traveling. We're looking at the Santa Fe workshop in May, and we're going to do the 10th anniversary of the New England Narrator Retreat in October. So go to my website or go follow me on Facebook, and you get all the information. And we're going to do an abbreviated Splendiferous workshop March 4th here in New York City. The Audies start at 4:00. So we'll be done with our thing around 2, with like 9 to 2, 2:30. It's be an abbreviated one, give you a chance to go home and get all dressed up. And I have already set up the Naughties party at Connolly's Bar. We're all set. So you can go there before, during, or after the award ceremony. It's not an APA approved event, so don't mix it up. I make no money. It's totally free. Just go there and have a good time.
Oh, it's such a fun night. That
Yeah.
was a fun night last year. Wow.
Yeah, it's always been great. So we hope you'll be there, and follow Jen, follow Don, follow me, and we look forward to seeing you guys all next week, if not before.
Yep. And as always, we're excited. Be sure to share this. Be sure to throw comments into YouTube after we're done. That really, really helps the show. You can share it in any groups that you see fit. Subscribe. And of course, we look forward to seeing you next week. And as always, on the wires. You have a great day. See you later.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Thanks.